What if the hardest part of selling your practice isn't the paperwork, but the empty space it leaves behind? Today, we'll go deeper than burnout into the identity crisis, the grief, and the rebuild that comes after you step off the chair.
Welcome back to Off the Chair, the podcast where we explore how therapists break free from trading every hour for dollars. Today, we're sitting down with Gabrielle Giuliano Villani, a licensed clinical social worker who built and sold a seven-figure group practice in Florida after facing major burnout. Now, Gabrielle helps clinicians scale smarter, diversify their income, and even prepare their practices for sale. She's an expert in Medicare strategy, retreats, and burnout-proof leadership, and she's here to share what it really takes to step out of the chair and into the CEO role.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. So if you stay with us through the conversation today, you're going to leave with so much more than just a business strategy. You're going to walk away with a roadmap for your next chapter, whether that's scaling smarter, stepping away, or simply finding your energy again. By the end of this episode, you'll have a checklist of the red flags that will tell you when it's time to pivot or sell, or if you just need a break. A clear 90-day playbook to diversify your income without adding more chaos to your week. Maybe even a Medicare strategy that can add 100K revenue without drowning in admin. A framework for shifting from clinician to CEO and knowing which higher metric and mindset make that leap sustainable. And most importantly, the burnout emergency plan, the exact system Gabrielle uses to stay regulated, focused, and free. So if you've ever thought there has to be a better way to do this, don't skip ahead. The last 10 minutes might just be the permission slip you've been waiting for to rebuild, not repeat. Gabrielle, we're so happy to have you with us.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you again for having me. And I already know this is going to be a really good conversation.
Oh, that's great. No, I was just going to say, Gabrielle, I have seen you over the years and you've been such a big inspiration. I've watched you when you sold and when you've been doing other projects. And I was recently on something you did about speakers. So it's just been awesome to just see the progression with you. But I have a question for you. So what surprised you about life after selling your practice? Was there grief? Was there an identity loss, relief? Like what really happened after?
I think there was all of those things.
Yeah.
And, what was really surprising to me was when you sell, it's very stressful and there's all of these things happening. And then the day that it happened, which happened to be December 31st, 2021,
Oh,
I was like, yay, like I'm starting the new year fresh. And it was over and I felt nothing. And everybody in my life was like, oh my God, congratulations. You just did this huge thing. And you must feel so relieved. And I was like, I feel numb.
yeah.
Don't feel anything. And I think it really took me like 3 years to work through that. And I don't know if it was just like depression or burnout or ADHD or all of those things. But my friend who was selling her business at the same time in a different industry actually had sent me this article about, it was really interesting. I wish I could remember the name of it, but basically like when you go through things like this, there's all this like dopamine building up in your system.
Yeah.
And then at the end, it's like you have this feeling of numbness. And they had interviewed like these New York Times bestsellers and people who had like, I don't know, gotten gold in the Olympics, and they all said a similar thing. So I guess that made me feel a little bit better. It's not
Yeah.
unusual, but I definitely felt numb. I definitely felt an identity shift of like, what do I do now? What am I supposed to do now? Letting go of a lot of control over a lot of things.
After I sold my practice, it's only recently, it was in July. It was the same kind of like, we were like, yay. And the kids had balloons and they were so excited. And I just thought, I don't feel anything. I don't feel different. I don't feel anything. And I think it's because like you're going at 110 miles an hour for so long. And there's so many ups and downs throughout the deal. You're like, oh, this is going to fall through. And then, oh, no, we got it. And until the ink is dry, you're just like, okay, I don't even know if this is going to happen. And then it was only until certain things started to come up in my business that had come up before that I was like, not my problem.
Yeah. I know
Yeah.
Not my problem. Not my
that's the
problem.
best part.
You know,
Yes,
that's
like
when you feel it.
soon as it like shifted, like it was done, I was like, oh yeah, that you are asking me this question and that's not my problem. We have a whole
Right.
department for that now. You go over there and you ask
Yeah.
them.
Oh, amazing.
But it is a lot of ups and downs to your point, and every moment is like you're on this high and you're like, oh my god, this is going to happen, I'm so excited, and then it's like, oh fuck, like they send you something and you have to do something else, or they question, what does this mean, what does that mean, where's this document, and you just feel like the rug is going to get pulled out from you at any
Yeah.
moment. So
Yeah.
congratulations, by the way.
When I was researching you, I realized one, it was very easy to research because you're out there so much. And sometimes it's hard to find what, kind of what people are working on. And obviously, one of the things that you've talked about a lot is burnout and regulating people. I love your TikTok channel, and just, it's like always these like tropical vibes. And you're like, yeah, that's what I want to be doing. And so you've done a great job at talking about how you took care of yourself from burnout. But can you distinguish a little bit for listeners? How do they know when they're just tired and drained, like any other person that's working a 40-hour a week job, right? Or when it is truly like burnout, it's like crossed into this pathology category where you are going to have to start to take care of your system, or else you're going to start to notice physical symptoms.
Mm-hmm. That is a great question. And I think what I noticed, and the biggest thing for me, and I think for maybe other people too, is the shift is apathy. So once I started feeling like I truly did not care, not just saying that because I'm like annoyed or whatever, but like actually like I don't give a fuck. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to just eat whatever I want because I don't care about my body anymore. I'm going to, every time that I was still seeing clients, not a lot, but a couple, and just like being on calls with them and being like, I don't fucking care what you're telling me right now. I'm sick of hearing this story. I truly do not care. I just want to get off this call as soon as I can. Same thing with like my clinicians. Like if they asked me something, again, I was like, just why are you bothering me? Like go figure it out on your own. Like Google it. God damn it. Like it wasn't just work, it was also my personal life too. So shout out to my husband for like being very supportive when I was going through that. And that was the biggest thing and I also think that's the biggest change that I see now in myself is like the vitality is back, and like I'm
Mm.
excited about life and I want to live my life. And that was the shift. I remember just like waking up one day and being like, this is your one life. Is this really how you want to live it? Is
Mm.
in this space of misery? I don't think
Mhm.
so. So that's the biggest thing for me, I think, is the apathy.
When you realize that, what does that look like then? Like, what steps do you start taking? Is it just kind of like a year of sitting in that muck where you're like, I got to do something else, but I don't know what it is, and I got to keep a roof over my head? Or what does that look like for you?
I thought it was doing more because that's how I'm like just wired, which I've done a lot
Mhm.
to kind of undo some of those things. But I always think I thought in the beginning was about doing more. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm burnt out. So I gotta, I don't know, add in more self care. I have to meditate every day and I gotta go for a walk and I gotta like drink green
I need
juice.
to add more things on my
Yes,
list.
I
yes,
think we can all resonate with this.
let's
Yeah.
Right.
fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm going to
The
become a
green
yoga
juice.
instructor now,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
I'm not going to just take a yoga class. I'm going to be the instructor.
Everything where
Yeah.
I have to like again care for more people.
Yeah.
So I think just sitting in it, to your point, is what helps first of all, and doing less, of course, and making things easy. And that's still something that I struggle with, but like I would just think like I don't need to there's like that it's not like a meme, but it's something that I read a long time ago. I think it was in an article somewhere. And they were talking about how their therapist said to just run the dishwasher twice instead of like washing the dishes and then putting them in. They're like, why don't you just run the dishwasher twice? So I started thinking in those ways of like, what can just make life very easy right now so that I can just truly sit with this and understand what this is telling me and why I'm here instead of trying to do more and avoid my feelings, which is like my favorite way to deal with things. I know I'm a great therapist. So it is just about sitting in it and feeling it. And I also really think like when you have the energy and you're able to access this, like the opposite of burnout is radical change. So then adding in those changes, but slowly and very small, and not comparing yourself to other people, which is a hard part too, of like, oh, they're doing this, I should start doing that. Okay, I sold. Now what's the next thing? I got to start building the next thing. But when I sold, I don't know about you, Colleen, but a lot of times you're generally staying on for the transition.
Mhm.
And so I had a year where I was working for somebody else, which honestly I needed. It's like I just get a paycheck every 2 weeks and I have
Yeah.
PTO and a 401k with a match.
Oh,
I'm taking advantage of all of this.
yes.
So I did. I took my paid holidays and I just really just slowed down and sat with it.
Relished in being an employee.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
So if you were coaching a therapist, let's say a few weeks after they sold their practice, what's the first thing you would tell them not to do? Would it be just not to do anything and not make any big decisions of what's next?
I think so. I would say, and I have actually done that with people who have just sold. I'm like, before we like run to the next thing and redo all the patterns that maybe got you here in the first place, why don't we just slow down, enjoy, take a moment, reflect, and really move through like that fight, flight, and freeze? Because when you're in that place, you're not making great decisions anyway. So before you start building the thing or deciding that you're going to go to an ashram in India and become a yoga instructor, like, why don't we just pause?
Right. And that's something that you'll hear Jen say pretty frequently on this podcast, which is like, I'm like, all right, guys, love this podcast. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a mastermind group, founders group. We're going to like, I've got all the ideas. And she's like, well, I'm not really interested in like having more jobs, And so it's a nice balance because she is thinking, well, I'm just going to keep creating those patterns that got me in this original place in the first place. So
I think I'm really trying to undo, and it sounds like all of us could do that and have done that. I'm trying to undo all these old patterns, which is really hard.
yeah,
It is very hard, especially when you are entrepreneurial. And even in my business now, I just was talking to my ads guy who's become a friend and kind of a mentor. And I was like, Ryan, I like sent him probably like 5-minute long voice memos of all these ideas and all these things. And like, what should I do next? And he was like, why don't you maximize your current business model and like do as much as you can in what you're already doing before you try and add on something new?
yeah.
Like, oh, what a concept.
I use Chat GPT for that too. I'll say, here's all 10 of my ideas this week. What is the best one to pursue? What's the lowest hanging fruit? And it will prioritize it. It'll say like, I had a TikTok idea and they're like, TikTok's losing in its following and you may want to shift over to YouTube. So AI really helps to prioritize that too.
Yeah, that's one of, I think, the best uses of AI is to help with like the brain dump and prioritizing. And
Yeah.
I use it for that too.
Yeah.
So I want to get from you your sort of practical tools when you were like, okay, I've hit burnout. What do you do? Like, do you take yoga? Is that what you did to help with your somatic system? Or Did you have to get on meds? Did you have to do a retreat for a couple weeks? What did you do to get your body out of that constant fight or flight state?
I mean, I probably should have been medicated, but I did not.
Medications are fine if you need them, right?
Yeah, they totally are. And I think honestly, that probably would have helped give me a really big leg up, but I didn't. I did go on a retreat, and I actually think the retreat was not only helpful, but it started shifting my thinking, which I needed because I was thinking from the freeze, the shutdown, the very negative thinking space. And so I had to do like a lot of work to undo that and understand why I was thinking that way, and not like toxic positivity, like life is fine, but more just like, why am I having this thought right now? What is this telling me? So that's kind of what started it. And then from there, speaking of yoga, that kind of like shifted me to more of a spiritual journey and doing more inner child work. And I went through an intuitive practitioner program where we learned more about like chakras and energy and shamanism and a lot of things that have really helped me, and also sound healing. So that's another thing that I do. Like, I am a sound healer, but I love receiving a sound bath as well. And I found that when I was in that like deep meditative space, I felt so much better. And I was able to access like my intuition and like my higher self and what I truly wanted. I think the other thing that's really important is community. I'm very introverted, but I have my people, and your people are important. That's your support system. That's what keeps you grounded. And not always just like a sounding board, but like my friends who are like, how about I just chill with you on the couch in our pajamas and we watch Bravo and we don't even have to talk to each other. We'll just be in that space together. So that was
nice.
Really important too.
That's good to have friends like that you can just be quiet with.
Yeah.
So I imagine a lot of people are going to want to know what types of things you did. And I'm not, in the interest of time, do you have someplace on your website where you have suggestions for things that people can do? Because those questions you're asking yourself is great if you're a therapist, but someone that maybe doesn't have that ability, is there a guided, almost like therapeutic like retreat?
I still have a spot open in my November 2nd retreat in Costa Rica. I have retreats coming next year, so you can get on my email list or on my website and look at those. And I also have a like burnout recovery toolkit guide that you can get as well.
Love that. Do you ever listen to Chantra Siva?
I don't.
Okay, I'm going to send you her after this.
Yeah, send it to me.
It's so beautiful. Her voice sounds like it's from a different planet. And she's in somewhere in Bali, and there's a man next to her playing a handpan.
Oh my God.
It's the most beautiful thing. And so I bought the handpan.
I was
like, I'm going to be a handpan player. Like, I think I was having just a moment where I like was just completely burnt out. And I was like, I'm going to just play the handpan from now on.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
I love that for you.
Okay. Well, so I want to do a little bit of a reset here, like a deep reset. And when I was looking over just all your stuff and everything you've done, my biggest question, I guess, that came up for me was, are you a clinician or are you an entrepreneur? And you could be both, right? But I think some people that listen to us are true, pure clinicians, and their burnout relief and their happiness and joy is still going to be finding a way to help others, but maybe just not in that traditional hamster wheel model. Mm-hmm. And then there's the true entrepreneurs that are like, oh, this isn't what, I don't know, my cup's not filled. And it's less about connection and the helping and more about how do I leverage what's going on right now to innovate and do something completely different. And they're not happy with the days always being the same. They like the change, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So where do you lean in that?
I think I'm 50-50. It's funny how life is, because when I got my MSW, I literally said, I'm never going to be a therapist. That is not for me. And then I became one because that just kind of seemed like the natural path. And also, I wanted to make more money. I wanted to help people. So that's like why I went to private practice. And then I think, to your point, but I can't help people in an hour, one on one, back to back every single week. That does not work for me. When I was burnt out or when I felt that coming, even when I first started my practice, I could see that wasn't going to work for me. No matter what I did, I just cannot work in that way. And I think that's where like more of the entrepreneurial part comes from, because I still like helping people. I do like a little bit of like, I still teach CEs and I love polyvagal theory. And so like, that's the clinical part, but I don't want to like be responsible for all of that. And that's where I like the entrepreneurial piece of like innovation and building new things and working creatively. And like, I love just how you can do whatever you want. I always think of like, all of these entrepreneurs that were shamed or cast to the side or told that their ideas were stupid. Like Sarah Blakely is the first one that comes to mind. She invented Spanx and people like laughed at her and like shoved her to the side for years. And then she sold that company for like billions and billions of dollars because she didn't give up. So like, that's always very inspirational to me, that you can really do whatever you want in life if you are consistent and you have a strong, and you believe in yourself.
Yeah. And I think even as little baby clinicians, when we're in grad school, we're sort of trained out of ever talking about money. It's like this quiet socialization that if you care about profit, you're somehow less ethical or less heart-centered. But it's an artifact of an outdated training and a system that keeps us all kind of compliant. I mean, people still today, I'll see in the Facebook groups, they're like, I'm not allowed to talk about United Healthcare's insurance. I'm like, yes, you are. CMS 2021, transparency. There's a law. Everyone can talk about it now. But somehow we've been sort of socialized to not talk about money. And how dare us? Then we're in the wrong profession because we're greedy somehow, or we don't have values or whatever. And if you look at any other clinician discipline, chiropractors, physical therapists, dentists, MDs, they have no problem talking about money. They're like, no, that doesn't serve me. Thank you. Next. Right. And so I guess that's what I wish for our profession, is that we're okay with being both. Like, I can help you and I can be an excellent clinician, but you're going to pay me for it. I went to school for 20 years, right? Like, you're going to pay me for that specialization. So do you feel sometimes like you have to give that trope at the same time, which is like, my mission is this, and if money comes, that's great?
I do feel like that, because I think when we talk about money, people get very triggered. I think something that helped, well, two things that helped me with that were two books. One is You're a Badass at Making Money. And people are always like, oh, that book is not trauma informed. I'm like, well, it's not supposed to be. That's the point of that book. So if you're looking for like more mindset and strategy, that is the book for you. And then Financial Feminist, what is her name? Tori something. She
Dunlap.
talks, Tori Dunlap. Yeah. And I like the way that she talks about how, and actually I think Jen Cicero, who wrote You're a Badass at Making Money, talks about this as well, that it's like, it's not tied to morality. So if you make money, that doesn't mean that you are a greedy asshole. Like, those two things don't need to go together. So we have to undo that. Like, it doesn't mean because you make money that you are a bad person. It actually makes me a better person, because then, I mean, we live in a capitalist society. That is reality. So if I can make money, then I can help more people. I can donate my time. I can donate money. I am not burnt out and stressed. And that's the better energy that I put out into the world.
And it's freedom, right?
Yeah.
If you're making money coaching, you have so much less regulation on you than when you are a licensed clinician that is regulated by every insurance and every state board. There's so much fear that we are surrounded in, just trying to provide good, quality care. And when you are, I imagine when you're doing these retreats and you're doing these coaching programs where you're not having to rely so much on the license or the
Mhm.
boards, that when you start to make some coin from that, you're like, oh, that doesn't hold as much power for me anymore. When I get that board complaint or whatever, that doesn't hold the same weight because I have this freedom business over here.
Yeah, it's exactly it. And you do just feel more free. And that, like, also undoing this thing that I feel like they also teach us as therapists is like the only way to heal is therapy. And if you are a therapist, like,
Yeah.
that is the only way. Coaches are bad, retreats are bad, yoga is not helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that's where I also think of that fear of like thinking outside of the box, because coaching is not therapy. And those are two completely different things. And therapy has really helped me, but so has my speaking coach. And so has my
Mm-hmm.
business coach.
Yeah.
And those are totally different things than therapy. So thinking that you can help people in a lot of different ways, and that, there's value in that, and there's still transformation in that.
That's such a good point because I know even as a therapist, I would sometimes recommend energy healing and just other modalities to my clients because I feel like, again, there is so many different ways to heal and so many different ways to think of things.
Yeah, there are. And it's like, it's
Yeah.
different in each moment in time or whatever season you're at in your life, that yes, maybe you might need therapy in these moments, but maybe in these moments you do need more energy hearing or clearing, especially if that's like, important to you. So yeah, I think that's one of the things I always see online is like, I can't believe these fucking coaches and they're all scam artists and how dare they? And I'm like, I don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. There's bad therapists, there's bad doctors, there's bad
Right.
chiropractors. Don't worry about them. Just do you, boo.
You do you, boo. I love that.
Now, Gabrielle, you're a healer, right, by nature. So does that leave you now that you've sold the practice and you're doing other things? Do you still carry that with you?
I do carry it with me. I think that
Yeah.
was a thing that I also, maybe I do still struggle with that too, of like, sometimes I just have black and white thinking. And so I was like, well, you got to be a business strategist or you got to be a healer. But I'm both of those things and they go
Right.
together. And I think for me, the healing just looks different. This like sound healing retreats, that's where I feel very grounded and like more in my purpose, but it definitely, I don't think, has left me.
When you're an entrepreneur, you're constantly, or at least I'm constantly, afflicted with the shiny ball syndrome.
Yes.
Like, I mean, every day it's a problem. It's a disability, I think, because I have so many ideas. And unfortunately, I am high on the quick start, the Colby quick start. And so I execute a lot of the ideas. So I get S Corp letters from the state of California. Most weeks I own probably 17 different websites. My husband just doesn't even bat an eye at this point. He's just so exhausted. So do you struggle with that as well? And if so, how do you manage that so that you're like, you just can't do it all at the same time?
That's such a good question. I do struggle with that. I also am an ADHDer, so it's like it is a disability.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I have a couple ways that I deal with this. So first of all, I have my people. I have my own business coach. I have my own mentors. I got Ryan, my ads guy, who I'm sending long voice memos to for him to help me. I have a lot of people, other entrepreneurs in my circle too, that has been really helpful, and other people whose success I would like to emulate someday. So that is also helpful. I will let myself get excited, and then once that excitement happens, I'm like, okay, does this really fit in with my life and my values and what I want, like my goals? So my goal is like, as we were talking about before we started recording, I love to travel. And so I want a life of freedom where I can work a little bit less and I can travel more, or my work and travel go together. So if it doesn't fit in that with me, then it's not something that I want to do. Maybe this is like rebelling against when I had therapy clients, but I hate having a weekly recurring hourly meeting. Like I do not want to be tied to
Yes.
I don't want to have
Oh,
patience.
I feel the same way.
oh.
Like if I feel like I have to be there, I hate it. So
I think once you own your own
yeah,
business, they say you become
you
unemployable.
too.
It's hard to be on someone else's time.
Yes.
Yeah.
So people will ask me like, do you want to do this mastermind and it's going to be every week or every other week? And I'm like, no, I don't,
No.
because I don't know what I'm going to be doing on Thursday from 12 to 1 3 weeks from now. I might be, I don't know, whatever. I might be filming TikToks. I might be whatever. So that's how I try and manage that too. I also try to work based on my energy levels, and that's a big thing. So if it requires a lot of my own emotional output or my own like energy, that takes more for me now. And again, I just think that's the COVID, burnout, ADHD, chronic illness, all of those things wrapped together. Like I just cannot do things that require a ton of emotional energy early in the morning or like back to back to back. So I think about that. Like, how do these things, these shiny things that I'm excited about, how do they truly fit into my business? And how is it going to push me forward? So, again, thinking about what Ryan told me about like, what's working in your business already, do more of that first before you add something else. Because I try and think of like future Gabs. Is future Gabs going to be excited about this in a year? Is she going to feel stretched too thin if she started a new thing today that's going to require a ton of marketing or building a whole new website or whatever it is? So that's how I try and manage it. But I brain dump all of my ideas too. I use Notion or I use the Notes app in my phone, which is like very chaotic because there's things in there that make absolutely no sense, but I write it down somewhere.
Yeah. Same. Same.
I really like
Yeah.
that, the future Gabs kind of comment about thinking about how things will impact you in the future.
Yeah.
That's really helpful. And also, I'm a Notes app fan too. Mine is also a bit chaotic, though. Recently, they developed the capacity to put things in folders. So now I have organized chaos.
I should do that. I just like have a million different notes and it says like, I don't know, so many random things. I'm like, what does this even mean? We'll find out.
I'm curious if you have advice for a clinician who might be feeling numb or secretly wants to get out. What's one brave first step that you would tell them to take?
Ooh, that's a good question too. I think two things I would tell them is one, take a long, hard look at your caseload. Are those your favorite ideal clients? Is every person that you spend time with from 9 to 3 or however, whatever, do you really enjoy them and the issues that they're bringing you? And then take a long, hard look at yourself. Get a glass of wine, get in the hot tub, whatever it is that you do. Like, really meet yourself and be like, is this truly what I want to be doing? And like, dig. Like, you have to really dig and unmask that. Or at least I think, I know I did. And I think a lot of people that I talk to about this have to do that. Like, you have to really go deep and not be afraid to tell yourself, like, no, this isn't what I want. Because that's scary, especially if that's what provides you comfort and income or what you've always been taught. To tell yourself, like, no, I'm truly not happy in this, that's a really big deal. But that's what you have to do to shift.
Especially if you've trained all your life.
Yeah. That was the other
Yeah.
thing too, is like, oh, I had many therapy sessions about this. It's like, but I'm a therapist. I have a license. What am I going to do? That's like my whole identity.
Yeah. So my understanding is now the big things for you, like your big projects that you focus on, is the Medicare consulting and the retreats. Am I missing anything else, or is there anything else that you're doing in the works right now?
Speaking, I think speaking is another thing that I love. Well, Jen just came to my webinar training that I did with my coach. And that was something that I also never thought I would do, because I still get very nervous when I'm about to speak, but it used to be like crippling. I mean, I failed public speaking multiple times. I used to pretend I was sick. Like, I was like, when I told my mom that I was going to be speaking at a conference, she was like, no, you're not. There's no fucking way. You.
Thanks, Mom.
But that's something that I love doing, and I think is so easy for therapists to shift to if that's another way that you want to work. And it's also very needed.
And I think it's so needed for therapists to step into that space because, like, I joined thinking, listen, I'm an introvert. Same thing with public speaking. But there were even many other therapists I happened to know on that call. And they were all saying the same thing. They were like, listen, like, we need this space in order to kind of push ourselves. And I feel like otherwise, you'll stay in the
Yeah,
chair.
exactly.
When you talked about being an introvert, I think that hits for a lot of us. I find that I've never been a group project person. So I was a little worried about doing this podcast because I was like, I don't know, like I'm going to end up taking the whole thing over or not doing enough. And it's actually been really nice because you've got accountability partners. And like now I'm even to the point where I'm like texting them like, oh my God, this is happening. What would you do? And it's really nice to have two other people that are sort of dealing with the same stuff that I'm dealing with, because I've got a ton of friends, but they don't know the industry, like the stuff that we're dealing with. So who's your tribe? Who are the people that like you could talk to on a weekly basis and they totally get what you're going through?
It has expanded a lot. And again, I'm like, well, I just think I was telling my husband this because when I was in Denver, I was back to back with like all of my friends that I needed to see. I was like, I sure have a lot of friends for somebody who's introverted. But it is important. I have my business manager who, again, she also gets a lot of voice memos from me. I have Ryan, my ads guy, and he's also an entrepreneur and he's very involved in like mindset work and coaching, and he goes to a ton of conferences and I learn a lot from him. I have my friend Allie, who had a very successful SEO company that she sold the same time I sold my practice, and she comes from a family of entrepreneurs and she has her MBA, and she is also one of my go-to people. I have Patrick Casal, who also gets a lot of voice memos from me. I have a whole group of like, we call them business besties, or all other therapists that I still keep in touch with. My friend Catherine, who runs the Therapist Network, she's also a PsyD and an MBA, so she's a good person that I connect with, also gets a lot of voice memos from me.
Because I think when you think like, oh, I don't do masterminds, that was the first thought I had was like, well, who does she talk to? And that's where I found Jen, was through the mastermind, right? Was like, it was through that I was able to find other people that was doing that. So I think that's so important. No matter what level you are in terms of introvert or extrovert, it's always good to have people that like understand what you're going through. It's so isolating.
It's very isolating. And I hope that anybody who's listening to this, like, you consider that, because I think as therapists or even entrepreneurs, it can feel scary to invest in yourself too. And that is where I've like found a lot of these people as well, is like, paying for their coaching or going to a conference, or like, that's how I met Maureen, who's another person that I would consider is in my tribe and gets a lot of voice memos from me. And she has success that I would love to emulate as well.
Now, what are you most proud of that you're off the chair? Are there some things that are still hard, and what comes up for you?
I think I'm most proud of unmasking and listening to myself and building a life that I really wanted, because I definitely grew up with the mindset of you should get a corporate job and you need to work 9 to 5 and you need to hustle, and like that's how you build success. And I had to undo so much of that to think about, this is really success to me and this is the life that I really, really want to live. But it just felt so scary to do that. And I'm glad that I did the work. I stepped into the fear and the unknown, because now I don't have to wake up with a pit in my stomach every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it seems like you really have created your dream life now.
I think just about. There's still a couple things. There's always going to be something. There's always
There's always something.
But generally, I feel very happy and satisfied with where I'm at, and that feels good.
When you're doing Medicare consulting, you're doing the retreats. How do you not get yourself back into that cycle of you're still taking care of other people, and you could just as easily now, your clients aren't regular people, now they're clinicians, but you could easily just be like, oh, I don't feel like talking to Debbie today about her practice. Debbie, what? Like, how do you avoid from just repeating that cycle all over again?
Well, I did repeat that cycle. When I first started shifting and pivoting, I just replaced therapy clients with coaching clients. And last year I was like, oh, I'm getting to that point again. And it's because I'm doing the same fucking thing. So I actually met with my friend Allie, and we went through my menu of services and everything that I offered. And we had a little spreadsheet, and I just checked in each thing. And I did look at like if I was getting a lot of money from it, and then just how much time it took and how I felt about it. So we looked at everything, and really for me, it was more about how I felt about it. And so we just had like good, bad, or neutral. And so everything that was bad, we got rid of. And then neutral were things that we looked at again. So I got rid of a lot of things, and I shifted how I worked. So if people want business coaching with me now, you're either coming on a retreat or we're doing an intensive, which is a VIP day, and we sit down for 4 hours and we do it. Because I just found for me that the coaching became the same thing with therapy. And with coaching clients, they would buy 6 hours, and then I'd see them once, and then they would reschedule, and it would be like 3 or 4 months I hadn't heard from them. And I'm like, this doesn't work for you or for me. So now if people want coaching, it's like we do it all in one day, and you leave and it's done. And that feels much better for my business model. So I check in pretty much, I would say once a quarter, with how I'm feeling about how I'm doing things, and I'll pivot and switch if I need to.
So Gabrielle, there was something that I had listened to you on, this was like maybe, I don't know, a year ago. Yeah. And you were doing like an Etsy empire. And I was like, yes, I love that stuff. So was that a shiny ball? Is that something that you're still doing? Was it like, that's a lot of effort for a little return?
I think it was a shiny ball for a minute. And actually my friend Allie just told me, she's like, you should get rid of that. But now it like is on autopilot, and it still makes money. So like, I just leave it because at this point, the templates are just out there. And because I've had so many sales, which is really nice, like Etsy pushes it to the top when people search for that. And it's part of my like email sequence. I do nothing with it. If there's a customer service issue. So I've like really built this. Of course, in the beginning, it was not this way. I did everything, and it was really stressful. But now I have a VA who just manages it. And if there's like a customer service thing, she responds. Like, I don't even look at it, which is great. And so that is a good idea if that's something that you want to build. That for me has become like pretty much almost entirely passive. It doesn't make me hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it does make money. But if you put in the time and the effort now, it can be, because people love downloadables. People love templates. People think because we have ChatGPT now that people won't buy templates, but ChatGPT doesn't always quite give you what you want or what you're searching for. So it's a really great way to reuse your skills and your knowledge.
When we did an episode last week, we talked about the Shawshank Conundrum. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, but it's like Andy is slowly drilling this hole while he's in prison. He's drilling this hole behind this poster, and you don't really know what he's doing until the end, which we've seen that he's carved his path to freedom. And so that's kind of how I see everyday therapist needing to step out of this, is that unless you're independently wealthy, you can't just like close down your practice and be like, all right, I'm going to do this. You still have to have that going. Meanwhile, figuring out between sessions, how am I going to diversify my income? And then maybe I make enough off of that Etsy that I could take away 2 clients. And now I've got 8 free hours a month, right? So when you were starting off, did you find that you were doing a little bit of that? Like you still had to carve it out in between sessions, or was it a black and white, like done and then start over?
It was definitely carving out in between sessions. And that was hard because that, again, was still bringing in money. But like the first thing that I did was I started teaching continuing education. And that was big because that was like a 2 hour chunk that I needed to find during the week and like move those clients. But that's what started it, is I was like, oh, well, I just made $500. And if I had seen 2 clients, I would not have made $500 at that time.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, so this could be a way to like keep moving that. So I think of it the same way as just how you were explaining. I was even talking to someone last week who wants to switch to private pay and start adding more speaking to her schedule. Is like, well, if you get one private pay client, that's like 1.5, maybe 2 like insurance clients. So you can get rid of 2 insurance clients. You got rid of 2 hours. You replace 1 hour. That second hour, that's what you're going to use. Like that's still on your schedule. Put it on your schedule. You need to use that to start pitching or promoting your speaking stuff or making connections with people. And that's what I had to do in the beginning too. It was just like, well, I have a free hour now. I just discharged a client, or I'm going to work an hour later this night, or I'm going to get up early and work on it. Like it is a little bit of a hustle in the beginning. There's nothing that comes easy unless you're independently wealthy. Good for those people. I would like to be one of them. You still have to work, and the passive income is not passive. You can work over years to make it passive, but like my Etsy, I started in 2023 and now it's the end of 2025. So it took almost 3 years. So it takes time, but you just have to be more forward thinking and just keep drilling or like taking the step forward when you don't know what's going to be at the end. You just have to keep moving.
From the outside, it looks like you've cracked the code with travel, retreats, freedom. I love to see it. What keeps you motivated?
Oh, that's a good question. I think
I love what you said about energy, because I do that with like my energy management. I have to kind of see how much I have left in the tank.
I think
But it definitely seems like now you have a lot of energy to do these things.
I do, because I have paid attention to what lights me up and what doesn't. So that's, I think, what keeps me motivated, is like what excites me. And also, again, not shiny object, although it is sometimes, but like what fits in and what feels exciting. And I think, sorry to bring this up, I don't know if people on your podcast will like this, but my human design is that I'm a generator. So I pay attention to that too.
I am too. I'm a generator.
We have to be excited. Yeah. And if we're not excited, it's not going to work.
So when I think about your retreats and I think about the everyday clinician's hesitation, one, we're just a frugal bunch, right? Like doctors will shell out thousands of dollars all day long to go on these things, but therapists, rightfully so, they're sometimes working at $63 a session. Yeah. And so they're like, I can't afford this retreat. That's going to be too much. And like, what is she going to tell me? Something I already know. I'm a therapist. She's going to tell me what to listen to myself. So what do you do that's different than what the typical therapist might expect in terms of the retreats and what they get? Yeah. Like maybe they don't need just that therapy. Maybe that's the piece that's strong for them, but there's something else that's missing.
Yeah. I think what's different is that we oftentimes are not doing that work ourselves because we're back to back with clients all the time. And what makes a retreat different is when you're home, you can't step away like that. So you always have something. There's laundry, there's school pickup, there's whatever. But when you're on a retreat, you are there. There's somebody making your meals 3 times a day. You don't have to worry about what's for dinner. You just show up. Mm-hmm. You get to actually have the space and the time to do the work. And I think also the most important part is really the space to integrate. That's what I find is the space to integrate, and the connection actually is the second thing. Because when I do retreats, we do our stuff in the morning, and then you have the afternoons free. And that's when the change and the magic really happens, is when you're just there and you're just being. So it's really life-changing. I know that it sounds like cheesy, but it's when you do that inner work and that foundational work, you carry it through every day in your business, in your life, with your family.
Is there some level of business coaching there where people start to realize an ROI on that? You know, it can be expensive for people. So is there a thing that they then come away with that paid for that entire trip because of what they brought back?
I mean, somebody told me that in their 22 years of being a social worker is the best investment and the best thing they've ever done for their career. So there's that.
That's high praise.
That's
So
great.
that was good feedback. And I do business coaching. So we do that in the afternoons with people if they want some business coaching with me. And then I heard from folks like that I was working with. So I added something this time where my social media manager is actually coming. And the last night of this retreat, we're going to do like a little speaker showcase. So people who want to do speaking or they want to host their own retreats, they'll have like a few minutes to present, and we'll take some content for them that they can take back and use on their own socials or their own websites.
That's a
Okay.
great
Yeah.
idea.
Something different.
Yeah.
Love that. When I did a group called Vistage, and it's not cheap, right? And as a therapist, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do this. And I remember, I mean, there's so many things that you get from it, but there was like somebody in there and it was just a throwaway comment like, oh yeah, and then you get like the 13.5 tax credit for each child. And I was like, what? What? And it wasn't a tax credit. It was like you could pay them 13.5. I have 3 kids. I was like, all right, well, that just paid for Vistage for an entire year, that one thing, right? And so that's how I start to think of these retreats where it's not, you can't just look at it as like the flat amount that you're paying. I sound like I'm doing an infomercial for Gabby's upcoming retreat. Promise them. But that's what I know. That's what people, that's the hesitation
Yes.
for people to pull the trigger is the money usually. And it's like, it's so like that little flat, I guarantee you in every single day, you realize that return on that in just freeing up your mind to not be an automaton, to not be this robotic place that's burning you out. And you're like, oh, there's a different way. Like that's an ROI. You know?
And I also had to undo that for myself because I don't mind paying money for retreats because I know and I've been on them. But like I thought the same thing. This one in Costa Rica in November is the most expensive. And I'm like, it's not money though. I like don't even think about that. I think of like the value of what you get for being with me for a full week in a like eco luxury resort with your own room and a private chef and like all the other things that come around with it. I'm like, that's priceless.
You talk a lot about your team and Jen, Jen, I don't know if this comes up for you, but I'm like, oh, so she's got a social media manager. She's got a VA. They're all staying with her. They're not leaving. I can't hire.
Well,
I cannot. I want the help.
Colleen, you're going to find your tribe. You're going to find your people.
But I want to know, like, is there a specific place that you
Yes.
go when you're looking for these people to help
This
you?
is the most important thing. And I talk about this directory all the time. And by the way, I'm like not affiliated with them at all, but another therapist who's also a copywriter. And I was going to hire her for copywriting like last year. And she's like, you don't need a copywriter. You need a business manager. I'm like, I know, but how do I find one? And she told me about this directory. It's called michaelaquinn.com/hire. MICALA. Quinn is with 2 N's. And Michaela is a coach and she teaches women how to be freelancers and VAs. And so everybody on this directory has gone through her program. So they're all vetted and they're all women and all of them have a prior professional career. So there's a lot of therapists on there. My business manager that I hired used to be a physical therapist. I found a VA from there. She used to be a teacher. So they have the skills and the organization. And I've had my OBM for almost 2 years now. This VA has been working with us for a year. So I cannot recommend that directory enough. They're amazing.
Okay, well, that's, I mean, there we go. There's our
There we
ROI on
go.
this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
definitely. So, Gabrielle, we enjoyed having you today. Where can our listeners find you?
So I am pretty easy to find, especially with my name. So on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, it's Gabrielle Giuliano Villani, GabrielleGiulianoVillani.com. I'm on Instagram at GJV Consulting. And I have 2 Facebook groups. If you need help with Medicare consulting for therapists, or if you're a group practice owner and need more help with that or income streams, it's Create an Abundant Group Practice.
Well, Gabrielle, thank you so much for reminding us that burnout isn't a sign of the end or impending doom. In fact, I think many of our greatest successes have been found right on the other side of failure. And burning out can be our crucible, the fire that scorches what earth no longer serves us sometimes, the blaze that clears the field for something new to grow. So thank you for sharing with us your Phoenix moment. And if you want to follow Gabrielle, she's given you her website and she has all of her links on there, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And share this episode with a clinician who's burning out, scaling, or building something new. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.